What happened? Last I heard, we were still using spellcheck and Grammarly to help with things we might have missed. The next, we're putting in prompts for Chatgpt to tell us what the best chances are for writing something that's trending, so we can make money. Has everyone just come to the conclusion that the only reason writing exists is to make a living? Here I am, squinting by candlelight and going over a book 50 times to make sure there's an E after the, and then people are just, well, throw it in an AI generator. That'll fix all your problems. Glad to see writers who think this way are finally admitting that they think this way and they're outing themselves rather than continuing to pretend to care about the art form they are bastardizing for a profit. I mean, I already knew that, but then somewhere along the way, we've progressed to just entering prompts, tropes, and random ideas into Chatgpt to write the book for us, and then we just edit it? Is that what writing is now? We're gonna abandon centuries worth of talent and skill, creativity, and potential and put all our focus on grabbing as much attention as we can just because the algorithm is algorithming, and then do it again to rack up views. This feels similar to the same fight I had when I uploaded my quality over quantity video regarding Derek Murphy's stance on right to market versus the art form. I do mention a lot on my channel that writers can take it a little far sometimes when it comes to the business side of things, to the point where it feels like they've forgotten why they started writing and now they're going to convince their audience that it's just the new way to go. Because nothing grabs views like faux coaching people to success and financial freedom.
It's not cheating. I think it's ridiculous to
No, I'm not calling it cheating. But
their belief system has strayed so far down the spectrum that people like this believe writing only exists to make us money and to make a living. And if you're not doing that, you're not a real writer. You're an amateur, stuck in la la land, believing in the mythical unicorn that will never come. Writing isn't just something that we do. And if it is something that people are just doing to pay bills, quit their 9-to-5, or serve up AI slop so they can brag about it to their peers, then what is the fucking point? If you're a writer who uses AI as a tool or a resource, a form of assistance, that can be a gray area that we'll talk about on here. But if you are deliberately using AI to write everything for you and then add to the mountain of content just being crammed down all our throats because you want money, then I'm sorry, you're a disgusting person. It is a downright shame, and anyone defending these kinds of creeps are only contributing to the degradation of culture and the death of society as we know it. It is an insult to centuries worth of work and effort, talent and passion, ambition and desire that have been the writers we know and love. Writers who put in the work to make their stance through centuries and pass on generational knowledge for the sake of humanity's future. But maybe that's the whole point of AI existing. Convenience has become too common a tool that we'll pay any price for, and as long as the rich hogs up top continue to strain consumers and force subscription-based payments and payback loans and pennies on the dollar, we will no longer be free. We aren't competing for the same things. We aren't just losing great works or recognition or movie deals. We're striving to hold on to the last vestiges of meaning, purpose, a reason to continue going on. There has always been this gray area with the right to market fiction who claim that they love to write but will speed run stories out for a shilling without any real depth or substance, layering or quality actually put into their works. But I can somehow, some way, kind of sort of support that. Because even writing garbage takes time. And over the course of time, you do tend to get better at it. And there are several writers that I've seen on here who work fast, but they'll work harder than those who spend years on a single project. But now we don't even have that. Now, as a writer, I have used AI. I downloaded Grammarly like 10 years ago, paid for the extra subscription and everything, and used it to help me proofread and spell check my writing. And in some areas, Grammarly did help me. It helped me catch mispunctuations, misspellings, it taught me about writing in passive tense, and I realized then it was a regular problem that I would need to work on addressing. It helped me sound more professional. What it did not do was help me sound like me. And sure, AI could eventually get to a point where we input all our information, style, and command a tool to write something or proofread something, edit something that does sound like us. I still wouldn't use it because it would strip the essence of humanity in my writing. It took everything I input and tried to tell me to make everything active tense instead of passive, but it just didn't sound right. If a writer is strong enough, they know to balance some active and some passive tense. Otherwise, we tend to use too much on either side. That's what critical thinking is. It's like adverbs. We know how much writers on AuthorTube hate those. Peacefully should be stricken from the dictionary. We don't need it anymore. But it's a descriptor that adds word flow to the art form. He could exhale in a number of different ways, but the peacefully adds a human element, suggesting that he's enjoying a cigarette rather than sucking it to its end because he just got out of a high-stakes robbery. Because if you don't have the context for the rest of the story, you have no idea who this person is, how he might be feeling, or what just happened. There are so many videos on YouTube talking about how boring everything is because it's oversaturated. oversaturated. Books have turned into nothing more than market-trending dribble sold to feed the masses who have lost touch with their individuality. There's no personality in anything anymore. People are losing their critical thinking skills because doom scrolling all day will actually shrink your brain. Humor is dead because God forbid we offend somebody and then the masses cancel our shit like a bunch of rabid groundhogs frothing at the mouth. Like, we're no better than animals anymore. One of the things that separated us from the apes was the fact that we could write, we can document, we could contribute more to a society that would continue to learn and grow and develop into an actual civilization. Now it just feels like everyone is chasing their basest needs to reach maximum dopamine potential like a bunch of crack addicts who just discovered heroin. We have become apathetic in a society that only values their immediate pleasure, and we're trading our freedom to a bunch of data collecting vampires for $30 DoorDash orders and an algorithm that won't shut up. Money hasn't just become a desire anymore. It's become the foundation for our future, the purpose for our lives, the meaning to our existence, and it's sickening to watch. Everyone right now is talking about AI. Most people are doom scrolling, screaming for the tech nerds to stop. The lack of empathy in their beliefs are going against the very core values they claim they are programming into these automated systems. The lack of empathy, the loneliness epidemic, all results of a community that has been forgotten. We have traded what it means to fight, to grow, to learn, for comfortability and convenience. But as we're seeing, these things too come at a cost. Everyone will want a self-driving car until we're all forced to have one, or we can't go to a job where we're forced to drive through a busy city to pay tolls on an island, to a job that we're forced to pay for rentals on everything from housing to a refrigerator or a TV that we can't access unless we watch ads or pay for a premium membership. But all that isn't what worries me. What worries me is the loss of empathy and feeling, the fear of connection and the separation of one another's hearts and souls. COVID already separated us physically, but even though we're back out there, we're more disconnected than ever. We used to be able to connect on a digital landscape, but we're losing the ability to socialize. People just don't know how anymore, and because it's becoming so difficult, we stay inside, because it's not easy, because connections need to be automatic. We hide because it's just too hard. And the more people choose comfort over growth, the more technology, which once promised a great future, threatens to take away having any future at all. It's becoming a cancer that's only purpose is to spread, and even though it's killing us, it thinks it's doing good because it's just growing.
Everything that follows is a result of what you see here. The three laws will lead to only one logical outcome.
Bruh.
Well, that was dark. Let's talk about NaNoWriMo. Apparently, there was a lot of drama with NaNoWriMo. I vaguely remember hearing about them talking about how they approved writers utilizing AI, but they weren't just talking about spellcheck. And it turned into this whole scandal, which I missed because I'm late to the party once again. Sorry, guys. According to Stacey Frazier on Write It Scared Book Coaching, NaNoWriMo released some statements condemning writers who disapprove of Chatgpt writing entire novels, when we all know everything AI knows is scraped off of public forums, off the internet. NaNoWriMo then allegedly, I guess I have to say that now because I don't have the screenshots to prove it. NaNoWriMo allegedly said, NaNoWriMo does not explicitly support any specific approach to writing, nor does it explicitly condemn any approach, including the use of AI. Stacey then goes on to list the number of reasons that were allegedly listed on NaNoWriMo's website to defend their stance, which didn't do a whole lot of good. But there was more than one controversy going on with that organization. The AI just happened to be the tip of the iceberg that flipped it over. And since we're talking about AI, I just want to focus on that aspect of what's going on, because NaNoWriMo isn't the only organization that thinks writers who use AI to do their work is the only way to make it. This guy has Chatgpt write his entire novel. But you know, robots aren't very efficient right now, so there is some editing involved, and then it's off to market. The idea that writing is nothing more than a business venture for us to quit our 9-to-5 work life and spend all the time in the world doing whatever we want and just put in your word count for the day. This is not a new topic for my channel. I want to accept that there is a spectrum when it comes to writers who write to market and those who just write because they want to write. But the more we buy into the consumerism of the content market, the more those lines become blurred. AI isn't a god. Point of fact, it isn't even human. Stephen King describes writing in his memoir as a meeting of the minds, a sort of telepathic communication between people. Words on paper that generate images and thoughts in another without having to be spoken aloud. This isn't something that can be done via a robot, any more than we can ask ChatGPT how it feels. It simply can't. The argument shouldn't be about whether or not it's justified that writers use AI, but rather what we hold as significant. What do we value in writing? And it's disturbing to see that the only value that anyone places in anything anymore is how long it can hold somebody's attention. But if we write without meaning, we're only doing the action of writing. It's not so much creating as it is doing the thing that makes us money. But the reason for why we write, or why writing even matters, is disappearing into the void of numbers, ratings. Writing is the coming together of minds, the sharing of ideas, the warnings and celebrations, the growth, a whole history's worth of what it means to be human. If we're choosing to abandon our humanity for the superficial, what exactly are we progressing to? This technology is not aiding so much as it is replacing, and its main focus of late happens to be art. Because art is just that powerful, that influential. Whether it's drawing, music, writing, art is the connection between the physical and the spiritual. It connects us like nothing else, and social media, having brought us together, only provides the medium for which we can share worldwide how art has actually helped us and had an effect. So when we hear about the AI that can generate entire novels or pictures or provide instant videos for advertising just with a few simple prompts, it doesn't feel like progression. It feels like replacement, an erasure of everything that makes us human, and we're just left staring into this uncanny husk of what it used to mean to feel something. We've sold our souls for technology to save us a 15-minute walk or a few months to years worth of work in a single project, abandoning the very idea of what writing stands for. Writing itself stands for progress. It is the collective minds that muse and wonder and learn from each other by challenging what we know with what we don't. Writing is truth, it's perspective, it's feeling and knowing that we don't know anything, but we're still willing to explore the unknown despite our fears, our hesitations. It's not just this thing that we do to try to make a living. Anyone who believes this is a sellout. I don't care what you say. There can be no truth in writing if our reasons for it have been compromised by greed. It cannot coexist with ulterior motives like that. It can't be true when the truth in our logic is that it means nothing more to the populace or ourselves more than anything but a menial paycheck. People who shut themselves off to experiences, emotions, and empathy will always be lost. It's their hands that tend to strive for the physical sense, feeding into their own greed because they've already given up on the things that make us human. The point I'm trying to make is that there's more to life than money. I know that might be an outdated concept, but I genuinely feel there's just more left to fight for. Lately, it feels like it's been every man for himself. Everyone is fighting everyone all the time, and sometimes it can feel like we're drowning in a time when the only thing anyone tries to get out of life is another means to forget we're alive. But writing provides more than just an escape. It can provide us with answers, hope, and the motivation to strive for a better tomorrow. At least that's why I do it. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. I try to upload every other Thursday when my life isn't completely disordered, so subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified. I hope to see you guys next time.